we're going to be talking about one of the most famous dinosaurs that has ever walked this earth, the famous Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's a lot of people's favorite dinosaur, and we're going to tell you at least what we know about T-Rex, and I think you'll find it to be very, very interesting. T-Rex, the king of the dragons. So let's get started right now. I'd like to start off by saying, here's what I believe. I believe that the Bible is the history book of the universe. Can we trust God's word? Amen to that. Yes, we can. God means exactly what he says. So we trust God's word, and that's where we go to whenever we even look at things like dinosaurs, because we want people to know that we have an awesome God and we can trust his Bible, his word. The Bible indeed is the history book of the universe. And God's word tells me that God created all the animals. He didn't say some. He said he created all the animals on day number 6. That would be like your land animals. Now, it's not the flying creatures and it's not the swimming creatures, but the land animals were created on day 6. And who else did he create on day 6? Adam and Eve. So he created people. So dinosaurs would have been created on day 6 with people if we trust God's word. Remember, the Bible is the history book of the universe. All right? And when God made everything, what did he say about it? He said it was very good. He said it was very good. In the original creation, all things would have been very good. So you wouldn't have to worry about a big old T-Rex like this here that normally you would run from. In the beginning, you could walk right up to a T-Rex and give him a kiss right on the nose, just like I'm doing here. Give him a big old smacker, and you wouldn't have to worry at all about T-Rex. In the beginning. Now, after sin entered the world, that's when everything changed. And I wouldn't want to see a T-Rex because he'd probably try to catch me for dinner, and I'd be running as hard as I could to get away from that T-Rex. Well, where do we find the fossils of T-Rex anyway? Where would you go to look for one? Well, I help to dig up bones of dinosaurs, and whenever we're looking for an animal like Tyrannosaurus Rex, where do I go to? I go out west to find dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus Rex. So we go into Montana and be this area of the United States, and there's where you'd find the bones, the skeletons, the fossils of this famous dinosaur called Tyrannosaurus Rex. Did you know this, that the first T-Rex, it hasn't been that long ago, wasn't discovered until 1902. What year did I say? 1902. And there's when the first T-Rex was discovered. And I've been to that site, right near that site on that farm where they had found the first T-Rex. That was really exciting time, if you like dinosaurs, to be there where the first one was actually discovered. And did you know that there's only been about 40 skeletons of T-Rex that's ever been found, and only about 15 out of the 40 is what they would call a complete dinosaur, a complete T-Rex. Only about 15. And remember this, if you find 70% of one side of the animal, they call that a complete find, because they're pretty sure the other side looked about like the side they just found. All right? And originally, they would say in all the textbooks, when I was a little going to school, they say T-Rex stood about 18 feet tall. Now, that's standing up there pretty tall. But, and this is the way you used to see them in museums displayed. When I was a little boy going to school, you'd see a skeleton of a T-Rex, and they'd mount it like this. Well, since that time, though, they've learned a lot more about dinosaurs, and they found out that T-Rex probably did not stand like that. Now, he could do that just like a horse can rear up. But you wouldn't measure a horse when it's rearing up, would you? No, that's unusual when they do that. You measure a horse when it's on all of its feet. And so T-Rex, he would walk bent over, they believe, like this right here. So that would make him only about 13 feet tall when he's bent over like that. Now, if he'd stand straight up, yeah, he'd be 18 feet tall. But if he's walking normally, he's about 13 feet tall. And T-Rex would look like this right here. And so museums have changed the way that they used to display the skeletons, the fossils of T-Rex from standing straight up. So they stand more like this right here. And I think that's correct. He's about 40 feet long. So how long would that be? Well, 40 feet long would be about as long as what a school bus would be. Mercy, that's a big dinosaur. When you think, how'd you like to see that coming around? I bet you guys could run pretty fast. I know I could. You talk about dust flying. And T-Rex, a lot of folks would wonder, well, how much would this big old dinosaur weigh with a dinosaur like that? He'd weigh a lot. Yeah, he sure did. He weighed about 7 tons, and sometimes they drop him down a bit. So it depends on who you're talking to now, the scientists, because they're not all in agreement. Some say he'd weigh about 5 tons these days, and some still say he weighs about 7 tons. I don't know, I'm not sure, but he weighed about as much as what an elephant would weigh. An elephant weighs between 5 to 7 tons, so that's what they figure T-Rex would have weighed as well. Now T-Rex, he was big. He's big and broad. He kind of like a football player. He kind of looked like a bulldog, really stocky like for a dinosaur. Most dinosaurs that would be similar to T-Rex, like Allosaurus and Ceratosaurus, they were more thin. But T-Rex was built like a football player that had all of his equipment on. Like this right here, not a skinny dinosaur at all. And how about those teeth? How'd you like to brush all those teeth? Did you know that T-Rex had between 50 to 60 teeth in its head? And if he would lose a tooth, another tooth would grow in. If he'd lose that tooth, guess what? Another tooth would grow in. And if T-Rex would lose that tooth, guess what? Another tooth would grow in. I could go on all day like this. And so here's a tooth of T-Rex right here. I want you to see. And this is a casting off of a real tooth of T-Rex. And this bottom part right here, the bottom part is the root, so you wouldn't see that. And so this part, I'm going to put my hand, just pretend my hand is his gums, and be just about this much of the tooth would be showing if a T-Rex had opened his mouth. So you can see that on our fossil right down here that you can see right by me on the casting of a skull, how much of the teeth would actually be showing. But he had between 50 to 60 teeth in his head, and if he'd lose a tooth or it would break or something, no worries for T-Rex because another one would soon replace it. It would grow in. Well, what did T-Rex eat? Well, we know that originally he would have been a plant eater. Am I right on that? Now, come on, Buddy Davis. You don't expect us to think that a dinosaur with great big sharp teeth like that would be, that proves that he's a meat eater, Mr. Davis. Give me a break. No, not originally. Is it easier to cut open a melon or with a sharp knife or a dull knife? What do you think? Sharp knife or dull knife? What would be easier to cut open a melon? Well, I think a sharp knife. So T-Rex could have used these big old teeth like this right here. In the original creation, he could have used it to slice open different types of plants that he would be eating and different types of fruits and things originally. Now, after sin entered the world again, that's when things changed, and I wouldn't want to tempt a T-Rex because that's when he would have started to be a meat eater. All right? Well, how did he see? Well, he see with his eyes. You got that one right. But let me show you the eye of a T-Rex right here. There's the eye. Whenever I'm building models of Tyrannosaurus rex, I use glass eyes when I make my model. And now before I ever put these eyes in the dinosaur, I got to make sure he can see out of them. So there I am right there just testing those eyeballs out. And I decided, well, he can work pretty well. So I'm going to use those eyes in one of the models that I sculpture of a T-Rex one of these days. All right, but there's where his eye would be. You can see the fossil right here. And his eye would be right over here. That's where the eye would be, right in that area right there. That's where we would put them. Okay, that's the way he would see. And here's what's amazing to me about Tyrannosaurus rex, because most dinosaurs, their eyes were on the side of their head, like this right here. Nope, not T-Rex. His eyes would look straight. His eyes is kind of like ours, so he could focus in and see things better. And so there you go. See how if his skull would be pointing right to you, his eyes would look forward. Most dinosaurs were not that way. Now, most dinosaurs' eyes were on the side of their head, not Tyrannosaurus rex. And so this is the way that he would look at you. Mercy, I wouldn't want to see him looking at me like that. You talk about running, I'd be running high speed again. I'd be in high gear. I'd be making dust behind me. But a lot of creatures that are known to be predators that will hunt, their eyes are forward like that. And many animals are that way, and even birds of prey are that way as well. Well, how smart would this dinosaur be? With a big old head like that, you'd think that head would be full of brains, wouldn't you? Well, it surprises folks. He's a reptile, and they're not known to be the sharpest knife in the drawer, to be honest with you. But his brain was not quite that big, and his brain was only about the size of what a quart of milk would be. And so how much would that be? His brain is about the size of what a sheep's brain would be. But his brain was plenty, it served him well for what he needed to do. God designed that brain to work for what T-Rex needed to do and how far he needed to think. How did he use these small arms? See, Tyrannosaurus rex is famous for these tiny little arms. The arms are no longer than what my arm would be on an animal that's as long as a school bus, little tiny arms. And scientists are not sure how he would do that, but they have different theories. Some scientists think that, well, those little arms would be used if he'd be laying down. He'd be sleeping, and he'd wake up, he'd use those little arms to kind of shove him up like that, and he'd get on with his business of the day. Other scientists say, no, we don't think he used his arms for that at all. We think he used his arms whenever he found something that he was eating, he'd hang on to it like that and he'd grasp it, and that's what those little arms were used for. You know, to be truthful with you, we don't know. We've never seen a live T-Rex use those arms. So it's just theories that we guess at as to how he may have used those arms. But did you know this, that there's only been two fairly complete arms that's ever been found of Tyrannosaurus rex? And again, this would be the part that would be as long as my arms. Now, his fingers were much bigger than mine. These are all fingers right here. So that's not his arm. This is his arm, but it's no bigger than my arm. But there are a lot of muscles that were attached right in here. And this humerus bone, that's called a humerus bone. That's the funniest bone in the body. It's called the humerus bone. And there'd be muscles and tendons there, and they think that it was built like a weightlifter. Really strong arms. Little, but strong. All right, there we go. Look at those little tiny arms on this giant dinosaur. Well, he was a land animal. All dinosaurs were land animals. The T-Rex lived on the land. Where did T-Rex live at? On the land. Did T-Rex fly? Not with those little arms. I guarantee you he did not. He wasn't a flyer. He lived on the land, and he wasn't a swimmer. That's not saying that he couldn't get in the water and swim and paddle for a little bit to get to the other side. I'm sure that he could have done that. But basically, T-Rex was a land animal. He walked with his legs directly under his body. He wasn't sprawl-legged like a reptile. You know, a lot of reptiles that you see in pet stores today, how they're sprawl-legged like that. T-Rex was not that way, and dinosaurs were not that way. Dinosaurs didn't walk sprawl-legged like you see in this creature right here. T-Rex walked with his legs directly underneath his body, just like how I'm standing right here. Now, if it be like a four-legged dinosaur, because all dinosaurs walked with their legs directly under the body, if it was a four-legged dinosaur, he'd stand like a horse or a cow with his legs directly under his body, not sprawl-legged like a lizard or a reptile. And here's how we know this. We know this by looking at the tracks of dinosaurs, because you can actually find the tracks, and I've been able to excavate a number of tracks, and we have found tracks that's believed to be from a dinosaur like Tyrannosaurus rex. And so here's a trailway. Here's the point that I'm making. Look at this picture right here. These are sauropod tracks right here. These are made by long-necked dinosaurs. But look what is falling behind. A dinosaur like Tyrannosaurus rex, similar to that. And I don't know if it was T-Rex that made these, but there are other dinosaurs like T-Rex and that same type of a creature. But guess what you don't see? This is the clue. This is what has caused scientists to think that they didn't stand upright, like that one picture that I showed you where I said he's 18 feet tall, but he walked bent over, and he didn't drag his tail. Because if he was standing up like this, walking like we used to think, you'd see that tail drag. You'd see where he's dragging his tail. But if he's walking bent over like this right here and using that tail right here as balance, you wouldn't expect to find a tail drag. And you don't see a tail drag. So that's why the scientists think that. Now, if you see a crocodile or a lot of reptiles and you start to track them, they're dragging their tails a lot of times. You can see where that tail would drag. Let me show you what I mean. Here's the trail of a crocodile. There you go. Look, you can see where it drags its tail. You don't find that on dinosaur tracks. All you find are the footprints. You don't find the tail drag. And that's one of the reasons scientists believe that dinosaurs walked more bent over and had their tail out for balance. It really makes a lot of sense, and I think they are probably correct on that. There's the dinosaur trail. Where do you find the tail drag? You don't. Now, we have found some places where we'd be finding these tracks, and we'd find some places where the dinosaur would rest a little bit, and it looked like its tail would go down, but when he'd start moving again, that tail goes up, and you don't find that tail drag anymore. It makes sense? Good. I'm glad that makes sense. All right, so that's the way T-Rex would have walked, with bent over with his tail out, like this right here. Okay, well, T-Rex laid an egg, the females did, and the eggs were about as big as what a football would be. Here's a T-Rex egg. I made a copy of a T-Rex egg, and you can see the real egg here at the Creation Museum. We have a nest of eggs at the Creation Museum, but I wanted to show you how big a T-Rex egg would be. What do you think of that? How'd you like to have that for breakfast? Mercy, you better have a big appetite if you're going to eat an egg from this critter, or you better have a lot of people eating breakfast with you. But it's a little bit bigger than what a football would be. And how do they know that's a T-Rex egg just based on the egg? Well, sometimes they do what's called a CAT scan. What's it called? CAT scan. And that means that they take a picture of the baby that's developing inside of the egg. It's very rare that you can do this, but sometimes you can actually find the baby that's developing inside of these eggs, and it appears to be the type of dinosaur that grow up to be one like Tyrannosaurus rex, a big old dinosaur. So there's a baby T-Rex. I made this little dinosaur. You think he looks cute? Well, that make a nice little pet for a while, till he grew up. I wouldn't want to feed him after he grew up. All right? So that's what he looked like when he grew up. Starts off with about a little bit bigger than an egg and grow up to be as long as what a school bus would be. Nope, I don't think that'd be the one to make a good pet, do you? All right, so trying to figure out how T-Rex would look when all we have are mainly the bones. Sometimes you find a little bit of skin texture on some of these animals, but it can be a challenge to try to build dinosaurs like I make some of these dinosaurs right here that you see in front of me, and trying to figure out for sure what they'd look like. It can be a challenge. And I imagine when I get to heaven, and I see if God shows me what they look like, and I think He will. I think we'll see them the way He originally created them. I don't know. I'm not in heaven, but I suspect that. But I'll probably say, boy, Lord, I sure did make a lot of mistakes on my dinosaurs, didn't I? And because just looking at the bones, there's a lot of things you can't possibly know when you're just looking at the bones. And here's what I mean. If I didn't know what this skeleton right here would be, and somebody showed me this skull of this animal, and I was told to make a copy of what it would look like, I'd probably get it all wrong, because here's what the bones belong to: a hippopotamus. Wow, who would ever guess that based on that skull? So that's the problem that you have when you build dinosaurs. So when you go to dinosaur movies or you see dinosaurs in books and stuff, you always want to remember that nobody that we know of has been able to see a live T-Rex to know for sure exactly what it would look like. We do the best guesswork that we can have. We're probably pretty close, but we might be wrong in some areas as well. All right, so there's a big old skull of T-Rex. In fact, right there you go. There's a skull right there of Tyrannosaurus rex. You can see it, how big it is. Okay, I think this is about a little over 4 feet long on this particular skull here. So that's a pretty big head on an animal, T-Rex. How big was his brain? About the size of a sheep, about 1 quart. Remember that? All right. So there's the way that I made my head based on what that skull would look like. And there's the skin texture. Sometimes you can actually find the skin texture. Is that cool or what? This is believed to be from a Tyrannosaurus rex. And so there you can see what his skin would look like right there. All right. And this is one that I made. You can see him here at the Creation Museum. And he's my T-Rex. Took me 2 years to build this particular dinosaur right here. But that's Tyrannosaurus rex. Well, what do the bones tell us? What can we learn from the bones? Well, we can learn, was a dinosaur a really old dinosaur, or was he just a young little dinosaur? How would you do that? Well, the way you can tell whether he was young or whether he was old is by counting the rings inside of the bone. So what I'm talking about, if you take the bone of a dinosaur, say like a femur bone or a humerus bone, and you cut it in two, you could see rings in that bone, just like rings on a tree. If you cut a tree down, you count the rings in the tree, you have a general idea how old that tree would be. It's not exactly perfect. You don't have the exact date, but you're pretty close. And that's the way they do dinosaurs, and they count the rings that would be in the bone as to how old this animal would be. This would surprise you. On a T-Rex, it's about 40 feet long, stands about 13 feet tall at the shoulders. How old do you think that would be? Well, the oldest one that they've been able to find, the oldest T-Rex that they've been able to find is less than 30 years old. So they probably grew pretty fast. And so that's the way that we would tell about how old they would be. That's the best measurement that we've got to use. All right? And something else we can learn from the bones of the T-Rex, you can see this one right here has been in some battles. Right here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but right there his bones are broken right in this stage right here. And I'm going to blow this up so you can see it even more. And it shows that he has been in some battles. Something bad has happened to this guy. And we know nothing bad happened until after sin entered. And two, in the fossil record, You find dinosaurs that have arthritis, you find cancer, you find brain tumors, and none of this happened before sin entered the world. Remember what I said? It's sin that brought bad things. Originally, everything was very good in God's original creation. Sin brought death, disease, and destruction to this earth. Originally, God created everything. It was perfect in a perfect world. Boy, I can't wait, because one day He's going to restore that again. And then, too, a good reason that I think that that dinosaurs are not millions of years old. Did you know that recently they've been able to find blood cells inside of the bones of a T-Rex, and even stretching material inside? It stretches imagination to believe it could be 1 million years old, let alone 60 to 70 million years old. In 1 million years, in just 1 million years, those bones ought to fossilize or they ought to rot. But they're saying, wow, we found stretchy material that still stretches inside of a dinosaur bone that's 70 million years old. Give me a break. Can't be that old at all. But they're glued to their theories. All right, I want to show you. This is from a T-Rex. This is a scientist. Evolutionists found this themselves. And look at the stretchy material from inside of a T-Rex bone. How can that be 1 million years old? Still stretches. And if this is just a single case, then maybe it would be a mistake. But no, they're finding this in more dinosaur bones, and they did the test on this one here many times because they thought that we got to be wrong, it just can't be. But they found out, no, it's stretchy material, and it's red blood cells inside of that T-Rex bone. And as I said, it's not only this dinosaur, now they're finding it in more and more dinosaurs. You know what that does? That erases the millions of years of evolution off the evolutionary time scale and puts dinosaurs well within the time frame that I would believe in creation. Dinosaurs are only thousands of years old, certainly not anything to do with millions of years old. That's a number that's made up by man. This is one of my favorite verses of Scripture. It tells us why what I'm doing right now is so hard, trying to get you to understand that we can trust God's Word, and we're supposed to defend God's Word. 1 Peter 3:15, it says, "But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you for the hope that is in you with meekness and fear." It means we've got to be polite. That's what meekness and fear means. It means we've got to be polite. Oh, it's easy. Somebody comes against you, they want to lash out, but you win people over by love. Am I right on that? You know I'm right on that. When kindness, a kind word, goes a lot better than a harsh word. But we're supposed to stand up for our faith, defend our faith, to give a reason for what we believe. And that's what I've been trying to do today, and showing that dinosaurs are not millions of years old. They have nothing to do with evolution, and T-Rex is just a part of one of the animals that God has created. Certainly not millions and millions of years ago. As we wrap up, again, one of my favorite things that I always get to do, in fact, the most important thing that I do in any of my talks, and I love giving the gospel message because I believe that's why God lets me build dinosaurs, because He knows that every place I go, I always tell about His wonderful salvation message. And as I said before, if you've been watching any of these programs, we're all sinners, every one of us, and we need to be forgiven, and we are. Jesus Christ, who is the Creator, who made everything, who made the dinosaurs, who made me and you, came and paid the price for my sin and for your sins and for the sins of the world. And all He asks is that we put our faith and trust in Him and Him alone, no other name but Jesus. Jesus says, I am the way, I'm the truth and the life, and no man gets to the Father except through me. That's what He said. I didn't say that. In John 3:16 it says, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish but have everlasting life." Do you believe in Him? Do you? Have you asked Him to forgive you of your sins? Most important decision that you'll ever make in your life. Hope you do. Well, I want to tell you about some of the things that we've got, and I wanted to offer you. Hey, I'm on Facebook now and everything. That surprises anybody who knows that I'm on Facebook, but I'm on Facebook. You ought to check it out. I think you'd have a good time. We always do a scripture verse. We have pictures of animals and tell about animals that's on our farm. And sometimes we're here at the Creation Museum. We take pictures and things around the Creation Museum. I think you'd really enjoy it a lot. I have a number of books that's out. This is just one of them called Buddy's Crazy Adventures. And we have a number of award-winning shows that's out. Maybe some of you have watched some of these shows, but the gospel message is presented in them, and God gets the glory of creation. All right, so this is just some of my movies. I Dig Dinosaurs is one of them, all about dinosaurs. And then I have a number of CDs that's out as well too. I do a lot of singing and writing songs, and I just have a good time writing and singing songs for boys and girls and for moms and dads as well. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this program today, all about one of the most famous dinosaurs that has ever walked the earth, Tyrannosaurus Rex. So we've been able to learn a lot about T-Rex, right? Well, I hope you join us the next time. You guys have a great day. God bless you all. Bye.